All right. Now, do you want to tell me how you got into journalism, into investigative journalism? I'm interested in that.
Oh wow, now that is a big story. So growing up in growing up in Nigeria and growing up in the family and community I grew up at the time, journalism, the media as a whole, was something highly frowned upon for enter. In fact, the typical language was gentlemen of the press. In here, ladies and gentlemen of the press. That's to show you that it was a male-dominated business space and environment as well. But that didn't mean that there were not one or two outstanding women who were there. I mean, Good with MSL were there, Orwell Brown was there, and so many other Nigerian women were also there doing their stuff and being good at what they do. But that didn't mean it was okay for every young Nigerian child who was a female to dream to become a newscaster and we automatically get their parents and community's blessings. I didn't get that blessing. It was an uphill task. It was frowned against. I was told that the only female who ever ventured into that space were termed prostitutes, which, by the way, is really an insult about it. I mean, even the word and that word is not even allowed to be used anymore because it's an insult to the identity to be defined by that term. But that was the perception back in my own early years growing up. I remember I had to hide doing a lot of things that were created to the creatives.
We believe that everyone has a story to share. We believe in the power of storytelling in today's digital economy. Yes, we believe that our audience need to be touched at the level of emotion so we can better engage. What about you? Do you believe in storytelling as much as we do? Do you want to reach the hearts and minds of your audience? Then join us in our online training class, Storytelling for Content Creators and Digital Entrepreneurs. Come to obehi1food.com/storytelling and learn how to leverage your storytelling skills so you can earn more as a content creator and digital entrepreneur. Storytelling is a powerful instrument at our disposal. Let's explore it together. See you in the class.
I was a highly creative child. I was very good with paint drawing. I was good with writing. I was good with doing so many stuff in the creative industry spaces. Public speaking was my thing. In fact, by the time I was 14, I did my first public speaking gig where I was paid a humongous amount and I was to be the person who emceed or compare a wedding ceremony with people in attendance at 14 years. I remember trying to go into that space, how I had to convince my parents to allow me to do it. And that was understandable at the time, but nobody wanted to go into the media space. It was frowned upon. And so there was an uphill task there. And I had to hide a lot of things that I was doing. Even my first published book, I first published my first mini story when I was 13. It was self-published. I hid that book for so many years that nobody knew about it. The day it was found out, my father was shocked that I was a writer. I could even write poetry. But even then, it wasn't something that everyone encouraged me to do and said this was what you were meant to do. In fact, I was told you got to read medicine because you are naturally disposed to anything medical, you're interested in the sciences, you will do well. So forget about going to the art or the commercial department, just go straight to science. And so I went into science because I also love everything scientific. But the other love of me for media, for art, was also equally strong. Unfortunately, my health at the time would not allow me to cope with the rigor in the medical sciences. So I ended up being given the choice to choose to go into the life sciences. And so I made that choice to read one of the life sciences courses. And it was done. I had a bit of into environmental, and then went into my estate. I mean, my community. That is where my parents hailed, my father hailed from, in Olomo, in Isoko land, to try to see how I can address the environmental issues regarding oil spillage that was so prevalent in Niger Delta from oil multinationals at the time. And I was so worried that on the land were being destroyed because of oil and pollution. And so I felt doing that would be a good opportunity to make a difference. And so I went into that, used Bryophyllum pinnatum as one of my plants to see how we can absorb oil spills in that region in Olomuru. Wow, I just noticed that as much as I love that aspect of it, it wasn't my thing. So I did the unthinkable. And my NYSC call-up letter was given me. What I wanted to do was run away from Lagos. I did not want anything to do with Lagos. Took up my call-up and I went off to the Northeast Zone in Gombe, where I had to serve. In serving in Northeast Gombe, I got the privilege of working with Voice of Nigeria. The offer was given to me at the time. And after having that offer, because I also had health issues too that I was battling with, I was now transferred to Lagos. But here's the trick, what happened. And here's the interesting thing that happened. Even though I was directed, or what's that proper word for it now, where they asked me to go back to Lagos and go start a banking job in Lagos, which my parents were so keen that I take on. Like that, I never wanted to go back again. So I got to Lagos and did my redeployment again to Gombe. That is where my journey into media began. I was so fascinated with the capacity that I was given to produce independently youth programs, women programs, and even train young people. When I started that, I knew this was at the core of my essence. So I began to write, I began to be a reporter, I wrote so many stories, covered events, and when I was done, I never wanted to go back to Lagos. And I knew my folks were so upset that I made that decision. And then I changed direction, and straight up, I traveled to Port Harcourt the moment I was done. Got to Port Harcourt, no job, nothing. And yeah, it was for the first 3 months, there was nothing to eat. I could barely survive. And then somewhere along the line, someone who I had already told that I love the media, that I had met in Port Harcourt, and I said, you know what? There's a radio station about to open. They just started a test transmission and they've been announcing that they want people who they recruit. What if you go there and join them? One for the interview, maybe you might get it, who knows? Because the way you've been talking about your past experience in the media, you never shut up. And you're a chatterbox, you should be on radio. And so I went for the interview. Incidentally, it was Voice of Nigeria. And I got there. Before this time, I didn't know, it was after I was accepted that I was told that over 350 persons had come in for the interview. So when I got there, I introduced myself. They told me, you're going to go straight up for a live test audio recording. Not for the live transmission though, but it's on the spot test. If I present very well, then I'm going to get it. Take note, Voice of Nigeria style was not where I had the chance to be as free compared to Radio Nigeria style. There's a slight difference, and especially when it's like a commercial radio station. So there's a difference in how things are done. And I never done it that way because this was freestyle. This was, everything has to be, off the cuff. And so right there, I did it. And on that spot, I was given the job. And that was later I got to know that 350 people have participated for the interview. They hadn't gotten anyone, and I got the job. Dancing, literally. And so I got the job and I began my journey in the second phase. And that's how I got into the media full time. And I got into the phase of developing young media entrepreneurs in entertainment, in the arts, you name it. That's where my journey began to Radio Nigeria. That is Treasure FM. That's Treasure 89.1 FM in Port Harcourt.